For an efficient intervention when working with children, the specialists need to follow the case evaluation methodology. There are several evaluation methods, such as observation, documenting, interview, questionnaires, etc. Further on, we will discuss the interview technique in working with children. The interview is a dynamic, interactive conversation with a specific goal between a specialist and the interviewee. Unlike interrogation, the finality of which is to obtain testimonies or evidence, the goal of an interview is to obtain exact and relevant information and collect reliable data to be further used in making a decision and planning further actions. The interview technique follows several stages. 1. Interview preparation and planning. 2. The inception of the interview, making contact and introductions. 3. Conducting the interview to understand, clarify, and consult the child or family. 4. Concluding the interview with conclusions and proposed assistance. All specialists from the multidisciplinary team use the interview and they should follow its stages. Even if the goal of this technique is common, each specialist will follow their objectives in an interview due to specifics of the assistance provided. An interview conducted by the child protection specialists will start by establishing the goal and subjects to be discussed. It is important to know in advance how to approach the issues and which difficulties may come up. The specialist should know if other specialists from the multidisciplinary team will also participate in the interview and what will be the role of each of them. The place and setting of the interview should be known to the specialist in advance. The goal of the second stage is to make contact with the child and introduce the specialist. It is important the child knows your name, who you are, your role, and the goal of the discussion. Explain to the child why you gather information, who will use it, and how. Explain that the meeting is confidential, but it may be needed to share the information with other specialists. Use a simple and understandable language. Be open and friendly to help the child feel at ease. If at a certain point what the child said is unclear, you should ask them to repeat or rephrase what they said. The third stage of the interview is meant to clarify the necessary information and collect data. In order to achieve the objective of this stage and encourage the child to talk, you should follow the recommendations below. Give the child enough time to express their thoughts. It will help them feel at ease. It would be helpful to reserve time for a discussion on neutral subjects, such as school, games, before approaching more personal and painful subjects. Consider the child's age characteristics and respect the limits of their attention span. A series of shorter meetings could be more useful than long meetings. Convey the message enforcing that the child is accepted regardless of what they may have done. Listen to the child carefully and show respect for their personality and feelings. Express empathy with messages such as, "This probably really upset you," or, "I see you're afraid." Let the child say everything they have to say without interrupting them. When you feel the need, take breaks. Give the child a chance to ask questions, to say something and make a summary of what was discussed or decided. It will help them feel they were taken seriously. End the meeting with a positive element, especially if the child opened up about traumatic events. Avoid promising the child unrealistic things, such as, "Your mother will surely come back home," or "Your father will never hit you again." If you have no answer, it is correct to say, "I am not sure," or "I will try to find them, but I don't know where your parents are now," or "I don't know if your brother will return." This way, the unrealistic, harmful expectations of the child will be avoided. Inform the child about what will happen further and provide your contact details. One of the fundamental abilities of a child protection specialist ensuring the success of an interview is wording the questions. There are several types of questions. Open questions are those starting with what, who, how long, where, how, which, when, and determine broad answers providing a lot of information. Closed questions are those giving limited possible answers, such as yes or no. These questions require precise answers relevant to evaluating the issue. Still, used frequently, the conversation tends to look like an interrogation, and communication can be hindered. Try to use more open questions. They encourage the child to explain things in their own way. Avoid using the question, "Why?" because the child may feel judged and forced to explain. Avoid multiple questions. For a child, it is already too complicated to remember the first question when you finish asking the last one. Ask the questions one by one, giving the child time to think before answering. Avoid questions with suggested answers. The child will feel obliged to give the expected answer. These questions manipulate or give the feeling of having no choice. Remember, you must explore the subjects. An efficient interview looks more like a discussion. Here are some examples of questions often worded wrong and the recommended version. Instead of, "Did you get upset?" use, "How did you feel when it happened?" Instead of, "Why did you hit?" use, "What made you hit?" Instead of, "Where did you find the wallet? Who was around? Do your parents know about it? Did you tell anyone?" Use, "Where did you find the wallet? Who was around? Who did you tell about the wallet you found?" Instead of, "Your father is the one beating you every night, isn't he?" Use, "Who used to beat you?" Finally, some important recommendations which ensure efficiency of the interview. Choose a space where the child feels comfortable. Use child-friendly spaces in the municipality, community centers for children, or psychology offices in the education institutions. If the interview will take place at school, except for cases when the abuser is school staff, then talk to the school management and ensure the child's privacy. Children have to be called in from classes as discreetly as possible, and the school staff will respect the confidentiality. Home interviews may be appropriate when parents are protective and the offender is not part of the family. Try to avoid taking notes during the interview. If it is necessary, explain why and ask the child's permission beforehand. If a child is crying, do not stop the conversation immediately. Try to find out what made them cry. Tell the child they must recount only the things which happened, even some of their secrets. Let the child know if you repeat certain questions. It does not mean that they gave the wrong answer, but it is you who did not understand well and need clarification. Tell the child they can tell you without embarrassment if they need a break, water, or to use the toilet. Important to remember. The success of the interview is ensured by how competent the specialist is in efficiently relating to the child, regardless of their age or status. Respect, empathy, privacy, confidentiality are some of the principles of a successful interview. Appropriate question wording ensures obtaining more information. Protect the children.